Hi guys, I'm Cambro and welcome to my channel where I'll be talking about the Threads of Fate, a new expansion for the Arkham horror card game. This is a card review where I go over the player cards, so we'll just jump right into it. The Thread of Fate pack came like, I don't know, 1 week ago. I just picked it up. I picked it up like a week ago actually. And it's, if you haven't played it, it's one of the best scenarios in my opinion. And there were some really cool cards in it as well, so we'll jump into it. So the first card we have is the Scene of the Crime. It's a Guardian event, costs 2 to play, insighted and bold traded, with a combat and an intellect icon, and it reads: play only as your first action. Discover 1 clue at your location, 2 clues instead if there's an enemy at your location. This action does not provoke attack of opportunity. So it's a bold, which I think is all the ones that you're required to play as your first action are bold. We only have one other, Mano de Mano, another Guardian card. So this is cool. This is Guardian Testless Clue, which is very nice. You pay 2, you get 1 to 2 clues. Hopefully you get 2. The Guardians usually have enemies on them. You could have played On the Hunt in the Mythos phase to draw an enemy. So you would have 1. So your first action, you would grab 2 clues and then you would slaughter the enemy. And it's kind of cool card. It goes well in Mark, who has very hard getting clues with 2 intellect. And if we compare it to some other testless clues card, for example, Working a Hunch, is this 2 in, so maybe like that is better. Working the Hunch from the core set, you pay 2 as well, and you find 1 clue. However, this doesn't take up an action, which this one does. Another clueless is the Art Student, which costs 2 as well. You find a clue, but this is also a shield. So I would say that the secret cards are a little bit better at that, but I mean, that makes sense, right? They are better at finding clues. However, you can find 2 clues, and if you're grabbing 2 clues, is this too dark maybe? It'll work. If you're grabbing 2 clues, that's actually very good. For two clues for 2 resources, Teslas is very nice. We have some other way of grabbing clues in the Survivor faction, where you pay 2 for 2 clues, but you have to do a test, and you could draw some nasty tokens, maybe put a Doom or something on the agenda. So it's a nice card. We also have Drawn to the Flame, the Mystic way, but then you draw an encounter card. So I would say that this is definitely much nicer. Sure, you pay 2 and Guardians can be struggling with money. But if you're playing like solo Mark, if you're trying to go for that, or solo Roland maybe not needing it, having access to all the secret cards. But then you could definitely include it so the Guardian can pull its own weight. They have evidence, but it's usually test. You usually have to do a test to defeat an enemy. Yeah, it's a cool card. Very good. Marksmanship, the second card in the pack. It's a Guardian event. Costs 2 as well, but this one costs 1 XP. Has a combat and agility icon, like a lot of Guardian cards has. And it's a tactic cards. And it reads: fast. Play when you would activate the fight ability on a firearm or range asset. This attack can target an enemy at a connecting location. Ignore the aloof and retaliate keyword for this attack. If this attack is successful against an enemy not engaged with you, the attack deals +1 damage. Okay, so it's an event which kind of turns one of your bullets into a sniper. So there's a couple of rule clarification, I think. The first thing, I am pretty sure you cannot activate the fight ability on a firearm if you're not doesn't have an enemy at your location. But I'm pretty sure that they intended so you could play this like how it's read, that you spend an ammo on your firearm, usually at least every so far. You spend an ammo and you shoot at a connecting location. You ignore the aloof keyword because otherwise you wouldn't be able to fire at aloof enemies, and retaliate in case of you miss, they don't hit you back, which makes sense. I'm pretty sure, however, if investigators engage with that enemy and you miss, you will shoot them instead, because you're attacking an engaged enemy, but you missed. And this is kind of cool card. We have been waiting for some sniper card for quite some time, since we saw the Springfield. Don't get fooled by the picture, this card isn't good with the Springfield either. Or the Springfield isn't good with this card, rather. But in terms of how many action it can save you, let's say you have an aloof enemy with 3 health at a connecting location, and you have the 45. The best case scenario would then be, like normal, you would have to walk there, engage it, and shoot it twice. So it would be 4 actions. With marksmanship, you could shoot it from a connecting location and deal 3 damage with it with the 45. So then you would be saving 3 action, which is a whole turn. But that's of course the best case scenario. You probably won't have that opportunity too many times. But there are some scenarios where you have aloof level 3 health enemies. They can be quite annoying to deal with. So it's probably a very flexible card. There are a couple of cards you can use it with. This is all the firearms in the game. Currently we don't have a single ranged weapon. But let's start with it. Some of the best cards are obviously the strongest, the lightning gun, the shotgun. You can use the shotgun, even though it doesn't make thematical sense. You can use the typewriter in Skid. Shoot that from a distance. Yes, that's pretty cool. Like the lightning gun would deal 4 damage to a enemy at the connecting location. So you could kill something like what's a 4 health enemy. I'll take something from the core set, so it doesn't get too much spoiled. Something like Flesh Eater. There are 4 health, right? Yeah. So you could, okay, yeah, you can't face the Flesh Eater and have XP. Yeah, okay, but you understand what I mean. So you deal 4 damage, best case, or well, best case you deal 6 damage with the shotgun, or you could also double or nothing that, and it become crazy. It is a tactic though, so you can have it to the stick to the plan, because it feels like kind of a situational card. So if you don't, so if you don't have it at the time you need it, it can maybe backfire, or well, you draw it too late. Or draw it too early and it just sits in your hand. So it's definitely a good stick to the plan target. If we compare this something to like Vicious Blow, they both kind of deal 1 extra damage. Vicious Blow, however, the marksmanship doesn't give +1 combat like the Vicious Blow does. So I don't think you should like switch Vicious Blow for marksmanships. You should probably just run both. And if we look at the art is super dope. And a bit of Bloodborne spoiler for the PS4, if you don't want to be spoiled. There's an enemy or a boss that looks exactly like this, I think. And this is Amygdal, I believe that's pronounced. And I mean, look at this. This enemy. It's the same dude, right? They look super similar. And Matt, he said that he was inspired by like Bloodborne and Dark Souls for a lot of the cards and lore and stuff. So I definitely think that one is inspired, like has like these arms and the shape of the head. It's a cool card. Very cool. let's continue. This is perception. It's a seeker event, cost 2 as well. So we have all had two cost events so far. It's inside and trick, and it has a willpower and an intellect icon and reads parlay. Choose a non-weakness humanoid enemy at your location and test 3 intellect. This test gets plus X difficulty, where X is the enemy's horror value. If you succeed, shuffle the chosen enemy into the encounter deck. If an elite enemy was chosen, evade it instead. So it's kind of cool. It's a way for seekers to deal with humanoid enemies. And there are actually quite a lot of humanoid enemies. The ghouls are humanoid, all cultists and stuff like that. Because it doesn't just have to be humans, it's humanoid. So, I mean, they are traded. If you look at something like the ghoul, right? That's not how it's spelled. The flesh eater. I mean, they all have the trait here. Ghoul. No, humanoid. So you would shuffle that in, and that's kind of good. Especially, I've used this once, and it's especially good with cultists who generate doom on them. Because if you would shuffle it in, it would remove all the doom. And the test 3 intellect for a seeker isn't usually a problem. It can be a 4, maybe even a 5. And then it starts to get a little bit higher, but it's probably easier for the seeker to do a 5 test intellect instead of evade it or kill it somehow. Yeah, it's cool. Cool. Not much to say about it. Like run 1 off in a seeker tech, not too bad. This is our second seeker card. It's an asset talent. It's named Screwed Analysis. Talent, permanent, limit 1 per deck. Doesn't cost anything due to being permanent. Anytime you upgrade a card with an unidentified or untranslated subtitle, you may upgrade a second copy of that card at no experience cost. If you do, the 2 upgrade versions are chosen at random from among the eligible options. And you still must meet all deck builder requirements. So, this is the first time we see a permanent card that costs no XP. So when you build your starter deck, for the first scenario, you can include this, and you probably should include it if you're planning on using it. So currently we have 1 unidentified and 1 untranslated card. No, 2 untranslated, because it came one in the Forgotten Age. Which one was it untranslated? I'm pretty sure it was, right? Unidentified, okay. So we won't talk about that one just yet, because we don't know what will turn into, but the same applies to it. So we have Strange Illusion, who can turn into the healing, the combat, or the evade one. And we have the glyphs that can be turned into the find tons of clues or evade. So if you have 2 Strange Illusions in your deck, and this one, and you have 4 XP from the scenario, then you can upgrade into 2 of these for just 4 XP instead of 8. A couple of, or the rule clarification we got it from Matt, is how you would choose from these are, you have 1/3 of getting each card the first time, and you have 1/3 of getting each card the second time. So the easiest way to do this would be like lay them on a table, and just then roll a dice. If you get 1 to 2, you take this one. If you get 3 to 4, you take this one. If you get 5, 6, you take this one, and then you re-roll it again. So the odds of getting a card doesn't decrease if you already have it. So if you get the freezing variant as your first card, getting your second freeze variant, it's still 1/3. It's not 1 out of 5. So the odds of getting a card doesn't change depending on which one you got. So why would you use this? Obviously to save XP, because it's quite expensive to upgrade into both Strange Illusion and both Arctic Glyphs. It's 8 and 6 XP respectively. But you have to live with the consequence that you might not have two strange have to Attic Ichor. You might have one restorative and one freezing variant instead. So you should use this card if you are. I think it depends on which people you are playing with and how flexible you are. If you're playing like solo, then maybe you must have two Attic Ichor. But if you're playing like a 3-man group, maybe you're okay to have like a freezing variant and one restorative concoction. And the same with this with the stones. It's a bit more well, a bit more. It's obviously a lot more randomy. How I used to play it, like the past campaign when I bought Strange Illusion, I used to pay, well, 8 obviously for both upgrade, but then I would randomize both of them each scenario. So I never knew which one I had until I drew it, just to get a bit more variation and to actually use the other ones. And it worked kind of well. Then we were playing 3 people. And the other two are, I mean, not as good, but if you have another fighter in your, you probably should have another fighter in your team. The other ones aren't too bad. I mean, this is one of the best healing cards in the game, and evading for 6, especially in this campaign, isn't too bad. So it's a cool card, definitely. Another thing with this card, you could, and you probably always should, run it in Roland. Why? Well, don't you want that smiling face next to you the entire campaign? It doesn't do anything in Roland, but he can take it. Okay, let's move on. This is Lucky Cigarette Case, and it's a really nice picture of a, well, it's a cigarette case maybe, I don't know, but it has the Elder Sign. It's a rogue asset, cost 2, like almost all the other cards, and has a 1 willpower icon, item and charm traded, takes up the accessory slot, and reads reaction: after you succeed a skill test by 2 or more, exhaust Lucky Cigarette Case, draw 1 card. It's not really all that lucky, just in the mood for a smoke. So this is kind of cool. It's the rogue way, right? Win more or don't win at all. So if you succeed by 2, you will draw a card, and card draw in rogue are kind of scarce. You don't have too many options. You're basically just drawing for actions or in the upkeep. It works very good with cards that put 2 stats together, the best one being lockpick, obviously. Most rogues investigate at like a 4 to 8, and you usually want to succeed by 2 in lockpick. So you would lockpick, you would succeed by 2, it wouldn't break, and you would draw a card as well, which is very nice. Other cards like Streetwise usually makes they boost 3, so you hopefully will succeed by 2. And I mean, Skids and Finn are both good at evading. So at evading and succeed by 2 might be a bit of a stretch, but it's possible if it's a slow enemy, or if you can boost it somehow. Rex also likes it. He wants to succeed by 2 all the time to discover additional clues, and getting card draw in Rex is very nice. Been quite some time since I played Rex, but he doesn't have too much card draw trouble actually, since he is Seeker. They have a lot of options, and his signature card draws shit tons of clues. But yeah, it synergizes well with Rex anyway. But I think if you're running a lockpick, there's almost no reason not to run this. Well, competing for this accessory slot, which we actually have a level 0 in from the Forgotten Age expansion, the Creative Skull. What's it called? Let's move on. This is Fence. Oh, I have 20 minutes in. Fence, it costs 3 and 1 XP, and had agility icon. And at connection illicit, is that our first connection actually? Let's read it first. When you would play an illicit card during your turn, exhaust fence, the illicit card gains fast. If it was already fast, reduce its cost by 1 instead. Don't worry, I know a guy, Leo De Luca. Yeah, so you would you have an illicit card in your hand, you play it, it gains fast, or if it's already fast, it'll cost 1 less. Right now, these are the illicit cards we have. A lot of them, I mean the weapons, can you switch? Nope. The weapons, the Chicago typewriter, the Derringers, it wouldn't be too bad to have fast on them, especially the Chicago typewriter. Lepara doesn't really care because it doesn't trigger attack of opportunity. Sure, you're saving an action, but yeah. And saving 1 resource, I mean that's nice. It makes the switchblade cost 0. Yeah, I'm not entirely sold on this card yet. It will get better as the illicit card pool grows. But right now it's a bit odd. And we have sleight of hand in faction, which is a row card, where you essentially gives an asset fast and play it for almost free. And sleight of hand just feels so much better. Sure, you have to have sleight of hand in your hand to play it, but you have to have played fence. And fence costs 3, which is quite a lot. So saving this resource, you have to sorry, you have to play fence like 4 times to even go plus if all your other illicit cards are already fast. So I mean, you play fence to get the fast keyword. You don't play to reduce the cost by 1, because this card costs 3 already to play. Yeah, the Chicago type right there, playing it for fast, that's sweet. You have more actions to boost it then. Lepara doesn't care. Finn, so when you're reading illicit, you want to think about Finn, because you can take illicit cards. So as the card pool grows, this might be better and better for Finn. But right now, I think just run sleight of hands. Yeah. Next card is Arcane Research. It's a mythic asset, talent rated. It's a permanent, so it doesn't cost anything as well, and costs 0 XP. And reads: when you purchase Arcane Research, suffer 1 mental trauma. After each scenario of a campaign, reduce the experience cost of the first spell you upgrade before the next scenario by 1. So this is cool. This is kind of like Oberon's got... No, what's it called? Charbon's Obol, where you will get 2 XP for after each scenario, but if you die, you're dead, or if you're defeated. This one doesn't have that big of a drawback, but the upfront cost isn't as good as well. But so you can, when you're building your deck, you can include this as well, and then you will suffer that mental trauma. But at the end of the scenario 1, if you upgrade a spell, it will cost 1 less. And here's a couple of rule questions where they go over here. If you're upgrading a non-spell to a spell, this doesn't trigger. Like the Arcane Glyphs, it's a occult item tome, and it upgrades into a spell, so this one won't trigger from that. Let's see what else. Yeah, I don't think there were much more else to that I hadn't said. And you probably should take it in the first scenario if you're planning to using it. But this only counts if you're upgrading. If you upgrade a spell. So all the spells we have. If you, for example, buy the Seal of the Elder Sign, which is a spell, costs 5, you're not upgrading this from any other spell, so it doesn't trigger. It only works if you're, for example, having a Blinding Light and upgrading it to the level 2 version. Then it would trigger. Oops. Then it would trigger. So if you have 1 Arcane Study, it would just cost 1 XP. If you have 2 Arcane Research, because you can have 2, and there's nothing stopping you from having 2, you'll suffer 2 mental trauma. But then this upgrade will cost you 0, and that's actually clarified that it can cost 0 if you're upgrading cards. And that's kind of sweet. I mean, you can't do it like when you're building the deck, because it's after each scenario. Upgrading a Shivering to a level 3 will cost you 1 XP, and then it will cost you 0 XP to upgrade it to level 5. So by the end of the second scenario, you will have 2 level 5 Shivering in your deck for 2 XP, because it costs 2 to jump here. No, wait. It's just the first spell, so never mind. You'll have 1 level 5 Shivering for 1 XP at the end of the second scenario. Which is very good. You can use it on your Shivering, your Word of Protection, your Rite of Seekings. And I think that's pretty much all there is. But I mean, every Seeker, every Mystic wants those cards and they want them upgraded. So then you have all these other XP to do fun stuff like the Seal of Elder Sign, the Grotesque Statues, the... what are 5 little Mystic cards are there? I can't come up, but there's some fun cards. Getting 2 Grotesque Statues is good. Maybe you could actually run Bind Monster. I mean, has anyone ever tried it? Where is it actually from? It's from the yeah. So it's actually saving you a lot of XP. If you're running 1, it will save you 7 XP. Right, because you say 1 on the first. Yeah, 7. And then 14 if you're running both. You will suffer 2 mental trauma, but you can heal mental trauma. Run with a rogue and have them pack some liquor. Akachi really likes it, because she's all about those spells and assets. You will have, definitely, she'll be a bit weaker, but I'm not entirely sure that Agnes likes it. She probably does, but she wants to have those horror soaks. She wants to be able to take a lot of horror. So if you're starting with 2 mental, might be a bit more hard to trigger her ability. Okay, last Mystic card. This is Counter Spell. It's a 2-cost event, that's all the other almost. Cost 2 XP, 1 willpower and 1 intellect icon, and reads fast. Play when you draw a skull, cultist tablet or elder thing, chaos token. Play when blah 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 chaos token is revealed during a test at your location. Cancel the chosen token. Not on my watch. And it's I love this picture. There's a man holding the elder sign. So someone at your location draws one of the bad skulls and you just stop it. You counterspell it. Maybe a magic reference. And that's pretty much it. And we know that these ones can be quite nasty. The skull usually scale with the scenario, and the other ones can have nasty effects like losing clues, putting doom, losing money, anything, losing cards. Being able to stop that can be good, and especially in some scenarios where these ones are -4, -5. It's kind of like a Defiance on drugs. Because Defiance, you have to specify before the test which one you want to cancel. Where in Counterspell you say after, so you will never miss with a Counterspell as you can with Defiance. So you could, if you like Defiance, I think you probably will like Counterspell because it's just a straight up upgrade from it. And they both have kind of like fun quotes. So if you're running Defense, upgrading it to Counterspell would make sense. But yeah, a lot of mystic cards, the Shivering, the Rite of Seeking, the Mist. They all have also a negative effect if you draw one of the special tokens. So if you cancel that, it doesn't count as you have been revealing it, so it doesn't take the negative stuff from it, which can be good. It is level 2, so Zefina can have it. And if you're too unspecific. There we go. So if you manage to get it under Zefina, being able to paint it multiple times is probably very good. But you have to have it in your start hand. It's also kind of similar to Time Warp, which we got in, what's the Dim Carcosa? It costs 1 less, but it both costs 2 XP. And they kind of do similar things. Most of the times you will use them for the same thing, to redo or cancel a bad draw, but Time Warp is a little more flexible. You can use it when you enter a bad location. You can use it when you miss an attack because you drew the red one. But most of the time when you Time Warp something, you want to redo that because it you didn't get the result you wanted. So you could still draw the bad one. Where in Counterspell, it banks on you drawing one of the special ones. And I mean, you could do some shenanigans like Dark Prophecy, draw 5 and draw one of them and then cancel it. Kind of like how I talked about Defiance with this one. Probably not worth it though. Okay, 2 cards more to go. This is a Survivor 2 cost event, like all the other 2 willpower. Perseverance, and there's a man, maybe climbing some rocky mountains. It reads fast. Play when you are assigned damage and or horror that would defeat you. Cancel up to 4 damage and or horror. So let's say you have 2 health and 2 sanity left, and you're getting hit for 2/2. Then you would cancel all of that damage and you would still be at 2/2. If you, however, are at like 3 health and 1 sanity left and getting hit for 1 horror, you would cancel that horror. So you wouldn't get as much out of it. But it's a cool card. It definitely hinders you because you can only play it when you would be defeated. But this is when you are assigned from anywhere. So if you draw something like Rotting Remain, it can help you from that. Cards like Dodge only works when an enemy attacks you. So we have a Guardian equivalent to this in I Had Worse, where you cancel 5 damage or horror and you gain money, but this costs 4 XP. This is free. Oh, it actually costs 2 resources to play. So yeah, I mean, if you see how Survivor and Guardians really differ, Survivor are just about surviving. So when you look at this card, you're probably thinking of Calvin, because Calvin wants to be at maybe 1 or 2 health. So having 1 or 2 copies of Perseverance, I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce it, in your hand, you can play a bit more reckless. You can be at maybe 1 in both, and especially if you have his signature card until the end of time, you could definitely run like a 5/5 stat with him. Who else likes this? I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, I mean, I think you probably only run it in Calvin, right? At least for now. Okay, last card. It's Stunning Blow, and it's a skill card, or only skill card, practiced as a combat icon, and it reads: if the skill test is successful during an attack, automatically evade the attacked enemy. Donk is the flavor take. And we see a snake man getting hit by a pipe. Kind of a funny picture. Yeah, this card is very simple. You attack something, you throw this in, and you you evade it. It's kind of like a vicious blow. Vicious blow adds another damage, and stunning blow, they're both called blow. Stunning blow evades it. So you're kind of doing, if we're thinking that vicious blow save you an action of doing a normal attack, you're saving one action. Stunning blow is saving you an action but doing the normal evade action. And that's kind of cool. There's a couple of things you can do with this card. If another investigator is engaged with an enemy, and they can't evade it, or they can't fight it, and you don't have the actions to actually pull it and kill it, you could hit it when it's engaged with them. You won't kill it maybe because you're not, it does have too much HP or something, but you can throw this in and it will be evaded. So that's kind of cool. If Ming tosses it to someone, he'll get +2 combat, which is kind of nice. Let's see, that's it. Yeah, and in this scenario, they are actually quite important to evade some enemies. I won't go into why, but we have the vengeance mechanics which you probably have seen already. So being able to evade is good, and some enemies, like maybe the conglomeration of spears, they're super hard to evade, but they're really easy to fight. So stunning blowing them, that's a way to maybe escape or set up sometime. Yeah, a good card, a good card. Yeah, and that's our 12 player cards. 10 player cards. We have 2 more, but those are story related, so I won't cover them. But you should have 2 more in your pack. Yeah, the Thread of Fate. I hope you liked this card review. If you did, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, and until next time, good luck with those token pools.